When did you kind of decide that they was the proper pronoun for you? Was it just like an epiphany that like poof, hey, this is what I want to go? Was it a slow, methodical, meandering river process?
Well, I mean, it was slow because I hadn't really figured out for a while that I wasn't what everyone else was telling me that I am. But basically, I hadn't really known that being trans was a thing. I didn't hear anything about it. I just knew I wasn't really comfortable when people called me a girl, and no one ever called me a boy or anything. So after a while, it was like, I'm not comfortable with being called a girl, and I'm not comfortable with being called a boy. And I just kind of went to Google, and it was like, there's a gender neutral thing for you. There's something that you can be called by. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Isn't that just one of the most, it's like if something's taken off your shoulder, a weight is taken off your shoulder. It's like, wait, there is something. I mean, I know we try to get away from labels and we're trying to move beyond that, but in the U.S., pronouns are just part of our common language. So you went onto Google and you found, hey, there's this pronoun for me, they.
Yeah.
Did you kind of hold that to yourself and develop that, or did you go directly to your family or your siblings? How did you sort of approach that process?
I was really just holding it in for a pretty long time. I told some of my close friends, but I told them not to refer to me by it in public because I didn't want anyone to like think badly of me or to think that I was like looking for attention and wanted to be special, because I was just trying to figure out who I was, and I didn't want everyone to start calling me by something if I felt like, because the world's like, oh, that's a phase. And I was like, what if it is a phase? Like, what if people tell me it's a phase and then it gets so caught in my head that I think it is? And so I held it in for a while, and I was like, it's been a while. I still feel this way. I've felt like this for a very long time. I don't think it is. And then I was like, I have to tell people.
So what was it like when Mace came to you and told you, hey, I want to use the they pronoun?
I was very supportive and did right from the start, I was on board, but I had a hard time, complying because I had, 16 years of having two daughters and saying, "Come on, girls, let's go." And
well, you thought you had 16 years of having two daughters.
Yes.
You didn't.
Referring them. Yeah. So see, there you go. So it was just something, the vocabulary I just had to learn. And then, thank you, by the way, for your compliments. So nice. But when I'm speaking about Mace and they're not there, I want to always be real and honor Mace and their wishes. And so I try so hard to use the proper pronoun. But when I'm speaking, they'll say, both your kids were there, because I'll say, and then they got in the car, and then they went to get food, and they're like, wait a minute, I thought it was just you and Mace. And I'll say, it was. It was.
So that becomes a teachable moment.
Yes.
As a teacher for you. You're like, yes, a moment to inform people.
And it's not just the kids, it's my colleagues, my friends, my family members, It's been a learning experience for all of us, led by Mace.
Right. Well, I'm glad that you said that, because when you were saying, everybody was saying it's a phase, this is something that's going to pass, I think a lot of transgender and gender nonconforming people really and truly hope that they're right when they say that, because we know that we're in for a handful of a life. We know that things are going to be a bit challenging for us. We know that society doesn't quite necessarily want us to be authentic. Mm-hmm. And so I bought into it as just a phase. For 40 years, I bought into it as just a phase. And I mean, I don't know any phases really that last 40 years. And so I don't really know. Eventually, I'm like, I've got to become authentic. And telling people my story was scary, because when you are going from one way of presenting to a different way of presenting, there's this middle ground that happens. And society doesn't know what to make of me in that situation. I would still, in the South, in Tennessee, would use the men's restroom, even though I'd been on hormones for a year, but I was still trying to trick the world for a little bit longer that I was male because I had a teaching job. So I would come out of the men's restroom and the men would do a double take and like, wait, whoa, this is the wrong bathroom. And that's when I realized it's like, okay, I'm being dumb now. This is not going to help anyone. Let's become authentic.